Boker or Masechet Kiddushin Daf Amud Aleph 26a1. We're starting by the Mishnah. The Mishnah says Nechasim sheyesh lahem achrayut niknim b'kesef shtar v'chazaka. When you have properties that they have achrayut, which means like houses or land, they are going to be acquired with money, shtar and chazaka, document and chazaka. She'en lahem achrayut, if it's going to be tangible, anything which is like metaltali, movable objects, and niknim ela b'meshicha. So it's only going to be with meshicha, with dragging it towards you, pulling it towards you. Nechasim she'en lahem achrayut niknim nechasim sheyesh lahem achrayut. Things which are not tangible, which means, for example, a car, anything which is movable, right, a scooter, it could be acquired with properties which do have achrayut b'kesef shtar v'chazaka, right? Why? Because it's derech hagam, meaning you could buy a house, and out of the house you'll buy the furniture which is inside the house. Okay, but and if a person is going to be tovea karka and metaltalim, since he's going to be chayav lishava on the metaltalim, so he's going to be chayav lishava also on the karka, even though usually on karka there's no shavua, meaning there's no oath. But since you're obligated to oath for another thing, it's like megalgalin. You remember we spoke about the concept once. But you're going to, since you're already obligated a shivua on something else, you're going to pull it towards something else. Says the Gemara, how do you know you could acquire with money?
No, not at you.
Yeah, he comes and he says, Amar Chizkiya. Says Chizkiya. Amar Kra, it says in the Pasuk, Sadot ba'kesef yiknu. We learned this already, if you remember. Sadot ba'kesef, you know exactly. So this is actually later on. Because we said that why couldn't they learn it from this pasuk of Sadot b'kesef yiknu? So says the Gemara, fine. So therefore it comes out that that's how we know that you could acquire lands or properties with kesef. Says the Gemara, ve'ima da'adi kashtar. He says no, maybe it's only with the shtar, right? You're going to write in a book and you're going to sign. So says the Gemara, ikatuv yiknu levasof. It would have been written right at the end yiknu. Then you're right. But since now it's written yiknu meikara, which is the Sadot b'kesef, and then you're going to write it down and have it. So therefore, kesef kani shtar reya b'almal. Really, the money is what acquires it, and the shtar is only a raya. It's only as a proof. Okay, that means you need a document, but the document is a proof. It's not the form of acquisition. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav. Rav says, that's only if they're not going to write the shtar. But if they write the shtar, lo kana, he does not acquire. What does that mean? He's not going to acquire it until he gives the shtar. The parish. Now, if they make a condition, parish, so then they could make this condition, and he could actually stop the seller from retracting even before writing the shtar, because once he already actually came and he gave the money, that's already going to be enough. Ki hadarav idi bar avin ki zavinara, just like Rav Idi bar Avin when he bought the land, when he used to come and acquire land, Amar used to say, if you want, I'm going to acquire it with money, or I could also acquire it with a shtar. So I'm using two forms of acquisition. Okay? Why do I do it with money? Because if I already give him the cash, he can't retract. It's like a deposit. Many times if you give a deposit, even if the price goes up, he can't pick up the price on you. Because once you give the deposit, kamarnu, you're done. If you want, he says, but why do I also say a document? Because I could retract as long as there's no document, which means that I'm the one that's always protected, meaning that the buyer is the one that's always protected, whether it's because the seller cannot retract or because that he could always retract. Uvishtar. What does it mean now, shtar? Menalan, how do we know that shtar works? If it's going to be because it's written, you just told me the shtar is raya be'alma. It's only a raya. It's not a form of acquisition. So but rather it says like this: you're going to take the book of acquisitions, and therefore, since it says sefer mikna, you're acquiring it. You're being makneh with what? With a sefer, with a shtarot. Shmuel says, that's only going to be shtar matana. But with the acquisition, with buying something, lo kana, you're not going to acquire that until he's going to give money. So Mati Rav Amnuna is going to come and he's going to ask the following question: Bishtar Keitzar, what does it mean? Bishtar Katav lo ala niyar o lacheres. If right now he's going to write it, whether it's going to be on niyar or cheres, ve'af al pi she'en bahem shaveh pruta, even though it's not going to have shaveh pruta, sadi mechura lecha, sadi nutuna lecha, rezu mechura nutuna. So therefore he comes and he says, if he actually wrote down, that means one more time, we're talking about a shtar. If he wrote it on paper or even on earthenware, but it has to be that even if it's not going to be shaveh pruta, that means it doesn't matter the value of the paper, the value of the earthenware. He comes and he writes down, my field is sold to you, my field is given to you, right? It's actually sold and given. Like why? So it's mashma mefurash on the right that the karka is already going to be even without giving money. Meaning just a document. The document is already enough. So says the Gemara, he asked the question, he answered the question, he's selling the field because of because it's bad, which means in such a case, Shmuel is going to be modeh that the mocher wants that it should actually be given over with a mesirat shtar, and therefore it's going to be good. But if it's not because he's selling it because there was a problem with the field, he wouldn't have done that. Now Rashi comes and he says another answer. B'matana bikesh litna lo. He comes and he says, what are we talking about? We're talking about he was mitkaven to give the field with the matana. And he wrote a shtar, and he said, Sadi mechura lecha, Sadi netuna lecha. Now, if you're going to tell me, so lama katav lo shom mecher, why is he, if he's giving it to him as a present, why is he saying, my field is sold to you? It's a present. So he says, to make it stronger. Because if I come and I give you a present, somebody could come and say, listen, before giving presents, you owe me money. But if I come and I say, I sold it to you, so now it's sold to him. That means even though he didn't even pay a penny for it. But the fact that I wrote it down on the document, I sold it to him, kilu, it makes him stronger, right? That he bought this field. Okay, fine. Chazakah. What does it mean chazakah now? Menalan. How do we know that you could acquire with a chazakah? Amar Chizkiah says, Amar says in the pasuk, Ushvu be'arechem asher tefastem, bameh tefastem. Right? He comes and he says like this: you're going to sit in your cities. You're going to sit and dwell in your cities, which you grabbed. How did you grab them? The yeshiva. Right, with basically living them, and by living in them, that's how, which is a kinyan chazakah. To the Rabbi Shmuel Tana, they learned v'rishtem otah v'shavtem bah. What does that mean? How are you going to be yoresh the yeshiva? So that's another proof. That means basically by living in a field, that's how you acquire it. It's called chazakah. So same thing. You come, you've been living there for the past thing. You're going to start bringing proofs. Nowadays, there's a title, there's this, that. In the olden days, there was no such thing as titles and all these things. So what happens? I've been living there for the past 10 years. It's not a chazakah. No, it's a chazakah. I've been living. It's fine. That's the way it is. Okay? Fine. Next part of the Mishnah, we've got the two dots. En lahem achrayut any meshicha. So any type of movable objects. It could be a scooter, it could be a car, it could be whatever it is. What do? It's only going to be acquired through meshicha. Meshicha means I'm going to come and I'm going to pull him right towards me. Yeah? He comes and he says, you're going to pull him towards me. Yeah? Menalan. Says the Gemara. Yeah, says the Gemara, it's something which is going to be acquired from one hand to another hand. That's what it means. Right? So therefore, since it says it's something which is acquired with hand to hand. How do you do from one hand to hand? I'm pulling it towards me. You give me I pull it. And according to Rabbi Yochanan, he says the Torah Maot Konot. What are you going to say? He says Tana Takanta Drabanan. Okay, we're learning a Takanat Drabanan. Okay, fine. Next two dots. Nechasim she'en lahem achrayut, right? Any type of movable objects could be acquired with like that means basically you could acquire a movable object with a house, with a karka or a sadeh. Okay, how do you know that? Amar Chizkiah says, the pasuk says, "V'yitel lahem aviyem matanot," right? Their fathers gave them presents. Imarem metzurot v'Yehuda, with the cities of fortified cities in Yehuda. So the fact that it says that he gave them presents with the cities, it's mashma that they were zocheh in the presence, which is the metaltalin, of the cities. Right? That means basically I give you the whole house and everything's in the house is yours. So they're going to ask a question, do you need the metaltalin or on the karka right now? Or no, or not? Some Rav Yosef, Tashma, we're going to try to bring the proof. Rav Kiva says, karka kol shehu chayev bepeah uvebikurim, any type of a measurement of karka, you're going to be chayav, whether it's going to be on peah, the corner, bikurim, that's the first fruits, kavav mubet, 26b. You could write a pruzbul on karka. Remember, if you don't have karka, you can't write pruzbul. And you could buy nechasim shel mechriyut. So it comes out, so if you're going to tell me right now that you need it, that means you need the metaltalin there on the field. So what it says that you could have any amount of land. What are you going to put on a amount of land? If I give you a little tiny, not even a half a square, not even a scooter fits there. Nothing fits there. So how are you going to acquire? So it doesn't mean that's a proof that you do not need that the metaltalin, the movable object, is on the land. You're acquiring it derech. So I give you the house. I say, by the house, you're going to get also this, and a couch. The couch is not there. It doesn't matter, but you get the couch as well. Okay, you're going to get it as well. So, Tigman of Shmuel Bar Bisna, Kamed Rav Yosef. So, Shmuel Bar Bisna came and he said in front of Rav Yosef, Kigon, for example, Shena'atz B'machat, that he put in the karka, he put a machat. Elmaleh, Rav Yosef, Kisavtan, right? You went and you basically you were mitzaher otanu. Right? What do you it's like I come and you give us such a crazy thing. You get me upset, right? For the rest of the day, you get me upset. Why? Because you said something. So therefore, what, the Tana is coming teaching us a machat? He comes and he says, you're coming to teach us a machat? So he says, Amar Ravashi, says Ravashi, Manle malandelo talaba marganita de shavi al fezuta. How do you know that you don't have a margalit which is worth 1,000 zuz with this? So he says, Tashema, Amar Bilazar, says Bilazar, Maaseh b'madoni echad, there was a story with a person from Adon. Shaya Yerushalayim, that he was in Yerushalayim. Shayulu metaltinin on a bed, he had tons of metaltinin, and he wanted to give it as a present. Amrulo, they said, En lo takana. There's no takana. He has to come and he has to acquire them to someone through land. Masa, what did he do? Halach velakach betzela. He went and he bought a betzela, right, which is close to Yerushalayim. And he said, right, this, the northern part goes to this certain person. V'imo, this he's going to get 100 sheep, 100 barrels of wine, right? Vamet. And then he died.
Which one
right?
died?
What does that mean? The guy died before the person did the meshicha on the metaltal.
Who died? The guy who was supposed to receive or the guy who was giving?
The guy that was giving. One more time. The guy that was giving had tons of metaltal. But he didn't have land. He only had movable objects. So he had tons of sheep and barrels of wine and this and that. So they come and they tell him, listen, it doesn't work. So he said, okay, so how does it work? So what he did was he bought a field, right? Doesn't matter what the size of the field. And he said, the northern part of the field is going to go to this guy. And with the field is going to go sheep and wine. And then the guy died. Before the guy did the Meshicha, the guy died. Okay? So he comes and he says, Vamet v'kimu devarav. They gave it. Why? Because he said, now, you're going to tell me, what's a betzela fitting for? A betzela, you can put 100 sheep on a betzela. Right? What's that? That's nothing. You understand? Meaning like it's a small tiny piece of land. How are you going to put 100 sheep there and how many barrels was it? And 100 barrels of wine. Doesn't work. Right? So says the Gemara, do you think the betzela sela mamash? My sela, what does it mean betzela? The nafish tuva, really bemet, it's a very big piece of land. And why do they call it sela? The kashi kesela, because it was very hard land like a sela, like a stone. It wasn't that he just bought like a stone and now I'm giving the northern part of the air. No. He bought a huge piece of land. But the land wasn't the best quality. So it was like stones. That's why it was called a betzela. But really bemet, you had enough space on the property to put the 100 sheep and so therefore it's not a proof. And don't bring me a proof for there that it doesn't have to be tzvurim lefanecha. One more time, we're trying to bring a proof. Does the metaltalin have to be on the property in order to acquire the metaltalin with the property or not? So says the Gemara, Tashma, we're going to try to bring another proof. Says there's a person, the story with a person that he got sick in Yerushalayim, like Rabbi Lazar. Yeah, and basically, what did Rabbi Lazar say? That the matanat shchid is not going to be acquired without a maaseh kinyan. The amnila, and some people say no, he was a bari and like Rabbanan, and therefore according to the rabbis that shchid mina is considered already given, and you don't have to actually acquire it. Shayilu metatlin abed, he had a lot of movable objects. Because he wanted to give them as a present. And they said, you have no remedy for it unless you're going to acquire it agav karka. Masa, what did he do? He went and he bought a bet rova, right, which is basically a bet rova of a kav, which is close to Yerushalayim. And he said, tefach al tefach, this tefach is for this person. And this one, so now here it's written furash, a tefach. We're not talking about the northern part of the field. We're talking about a tefach. You know what a tefach is? 8 centimeters. You could put a sheep on 8 centimeters. Nothing. So this is a proof that it doesn't have to be there. Via Martin, you're going to tell me what can you put on a tefach al tefach? So answers the Gemara, you're right. What are we dealing with? The matana was money. And therefore, money to buy the sheep and buy the barrels of wine. We're not talking about that he actually gave the metaltalin mamash. He gave money. So money you could put in a tefach al tefach. You could put all the $100 bills in one pile over here, and it could be enough to buy the 100 sheep and the 100. So therefore, you can bring a proof. That's also logical. These are the reasons going to tell me is mamash 100 son and 100 chaviyot. Nikninu na'aleh b'chalipin. Just do chalipin. Do chalipin. Right? He does the exchange. The exchange. That's it. Ve'lamai, but rather, lidumei, we're talking about money. So nikninu na'aleh b'meshicha. When does he just do meshicha? Ela, but rather the letter mekabel matana. But rather the mekabel matana was not here. So since the person receiving the present was not here, so that's why he wasn't able to do that. So chanami. So says the Gemara, fine, but make him zachin through somebody else. Meaning, I come and I tell David, here, you're going to be zoche, that Ronen could say Ananenu on Kippur. Right? He picks it up, very good. You understand? So what happens is, right, that now he could do that. Yeah? So he comes and he says, right, as follows. So he says, Lo samchadate. He's not going to be somech dat. Why? Savari holds, right? He comes and he says, Savari holds, Shamit ve'achi lehu. right? He's going to be choshesh that the moshech is going to steal it and he's going to take it, right? What does that mean? He comes and he says that he's going to come and he's going to steal it and get rid of it, and he's not going to give it to the mekabel matana. Meaning like this: sometimes if I'm going to give you a present, I'm going to suspect that you're going to give the present to somebody that you're not going to give it to him. You're going to use it yourself. You're going to say anyway it was a present. No, so he's afraid to give it to somebody else because he thinks that maybe that guy will use it instead of giving it to the person that meant that he wants to give the present to. So what does it mean then? Says for that which he had the smichut dat, unless he's going to do it with a kinyan agav, the way with a field, it's not going to work. So Tashemar, they're going to try to bring another proof now. There's a story with Rabbi Gamliel and the Zekinim that they were coming on a boat. And what happened was Rabbi Gamliel, he forgot whether he took off Maaser or not. So he went and he said, you cannot come and take off the, what did he do? This right now, this, how do you call this? The 10th of the Tevuah that I'm going to come and I'm going to separate is going to become Natun lo Yoshua, is going to be given to the Levi, Rabbi Yoshua ben Hananiah. Umekomo muskalo, and the place is going to be rented to him. The Isur acher shani atilimon, and the other Isur, which is Maaser Ani, is given to Akiva ben Yosef, that he was a Gabay Tzedakah, Rabbi Akiva. Kedesh yizkur bo lani, umekomo muskalo. So you see from here, Shemamina Ba'inan Tzurima. So it says, you see from here that it has to be on the property because he had to rent out the place. He had to rent out the place where it was. Meaning it wasn't just enough to say, this is going to this Levi, this is going to the Gabay Tzedakah for the Ani. No. He had to say the Makom is Muskarlo also. And once the place is Muskarlo, so wherever it is, has to actually be there. So that's a proof that it has to be Tzivurim on it. It has to actually be there. So answers the Gemara, it's different over there. He just didn't want that they have to come, take it off, this, that. No. That's why he did it. But not that you have to do it in such a fashion. So again, it's not going to be a proof.